All right. Divine rising, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get this started here in just a moment as I share this out. Okay. So, again, we are going to go ahead and get this started. If you are tuning in with me right now, um, thank you for spending your morning with me. If you're tuning in, if you would let me know where you are tuning in from. And if you would like to go live with me, as I stay on every live, you can click in the comments, go live, it says live with me. Go ahead and click that, and I will bring you on screen with me, and we can chop it up and have a conversation about this particular topic. Um, and if you are coming through for the very first time, or if you have been through here for and you just didn't stop, but you just keep seeing me coming up, I am Shakita and I am out of the state of Texas, and I'm originally from Oklahoma. And so I am um, the founder and founding architect of Quiet Queens Academy. And so if you want to know more about that and how Quiet Queens Academy came about, you can actually go to academy.quietqueensacademy.com and go to the about, and you can learn all about that. But we're going to go ahead and get started with this live Quiet Queens Morning Live. It is Wednesday, August the 26th, 2026. Y'all look, it is 8:34 a.m. in the morning, and our topic is your priorities don't need everyone's permission. And if you have not read the description, I'll go ahead and do that for you on this morning. So Monday, um, we noticed we received our energy. What receives our energy, not what. Monday, we notice what receives our energy. Tuesday, we separated what matters from what deserves priority right now. And on today, that clarity enters our conversation. And so, because choosing a priority can change your availability, it can mean declining something good, saying not now, or giving less attention to something another person expected you to make room for. And sometimes the difficult part isn't making the decision, it's communicating it without feeling responsible for conveniencing everyone else that the decision is reasonable, right? And this morning on Quiet Queens Morning Live, we are talking about communicating priorities with calm authority while remaining considerate of the people our decisions may affect. You can care about someone's response without making their approval a requirement for your clarity. And so, as we say, Quiet Queens Academy, quiet authority outlasts persuasion, right? And so we're going to get into, excuse me, get into this conversation. As I always say, I might be repeating some things, but sometimes repetition is really good. So, um, And if you are joining us for the very first time, the weekly theme is intentional energy, right? So intentional energy, your energy becomes more useful when you stop treating every demand, opportunity, responsibility, and possibilities as equal, deserving of your attention. And so that is what we are tapping in on this week. And we are in the middle of the week, so happy hump day to you, right? Divine hump day to you, if you will. And so, again, Divine Rising Quiet Queens. Monday, we talked about noticing what actually receives our energy. Yesterday, we talked about priority and recognition that everything important cannot be first at the same time. But once you decide what matters now, sometimes something else happens. So, sometimes something else happens. Other people may experience that decision. Maybe somebody asked you for something, and your answer is, not right now. And maybe an opportunity comes and you decide this is good, but it doesn't belong in what I'm building right now. And maybe somebody is accustomed to having access to your time, but you've already decided where that time needs to go. And sometimes making that decision isn't the difficult part. Communicating it is, because now somebody else may have a response to the priority you've chosen. And that's where I want to take this conversation today. All right. And so, just a reflection from me is that I have to learn that being clear about my priorities doesn't mean I stop considering other people. I can care that my decision may inconvenience somebody. I can understand why they want a different answer. I can listen to their perspective, but consideration and permission are not the same thing. And if I consciously looked at what I'm responsible for, what I've already committed to, and what deserves my focus, energy right now, I don't necessarily need to convince everybody that my priority deserves to be my priority, right? And I can communicate it, I can be considerate, and I can still remain responsible for the decisions I made, right? And so we're going to tap into the core conversation of this topic, and we're going to have probably maybe 4 or 5 points, and then we're going to close this out, and then we'll be on with our day, right? And so today, the first thing is sometimes we explain our priorities as though we're asking permission to have them. Mm. And how many of you actually have done that, right? Have you ever said, I can't because, and then you gave 5 reasons, and then added another reason because the first 5 didn't seem convincing enough? Sometimes context is appropriate, but sometimes we aren't simply communicating. We're building a case. We're hoping that if we provide enough evidence that the other person will say, "Okay, your reason is good enough," and only then do we feel comfortable honor the priority. And notice that pattern without judging it, because there is a difference between helping somebody understand your decision and trying to earn permission for it. And so, I mean, and I know we've all been in that position of giving an explanation as to our reasoning, because if we said no, right? And we said no, and then we giving like, and I say, an explanation, which is not even really, we don't have to. You don't have to give an explanation for your answer, right? And what you or get permission from someone else to do what it is that you want to do, especially when we are adults. I mean, there is no explanation. And if someone asks, I mean, if they're asking, you know, the reason or the reason you made the choice that you did or anything like that, I mean, it's you can respond to it or you don't have to. I mean, because again, You owe no one an explanation as to your reason or your priority that you decide to put ahead of whatever they had going on, right? And that's okay. And so let's get into number two. Not now can feel harder when the opportunity is good. And I said that on yesterday. I said not now. I mean, because the opportunity is good, but not right now because I have other relevant things that I need to take care of before I move into another opportunity. So it's relatively easy to decline something when we don't want, when we don't want. The deeper discernment often comes when we do want it, right? And a good invitation, a good idea, a good opportunity, a person we genuinely care about, and still, this doesn't belong first right now. So, yesterday we established that something doesn't have to become bad before something else can become the priority. And the same principle applies when we communicate it. You don't have to diminish what you've declined in order to honor what you've chosen, right? So you don't have to play it down. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do that. I mean, because you honor what you've chosen, and that's okay. I mean, and the thing is, and we think about it, in business, we all have, those who are entrepreneurs, we have businesses. I mean, we see it, on TV, we see it everywhere, there's always that rebuttal. And I remember I used to work in sales. And I'm gonna be honest, I did not like sales, but that was a job that I had, and I cringed when I had to do the rebuttal. I mean, it didn't feel good at all, but I had to do the rebuttal. I had to rebuttal three times before I can say, you know what, if the person said no, I mean, I still have to come back with something. They said no again, I had to come back with that. They said, and I had to come back, and then, and sometimes at the point of, the rebuttal, people hang up. I mean, people actually check out on you. And so that's one of the things that I'm learning, and I'll probably start, probably share some of that later. But that's one of the things that I've learned is that, when communicating something is to bring the resistance down. I mean, but the moment that a person think that you're going to pitch them or you think you're going to sell them on something, their resistance automatically go up, especially when it's not genuine. But again, that's a whole nother conversation for something else. So let's get into number three. And pretty much this has become like, awareness a part of this is like consideration and permission are different. So this distinction matters. Consideration says, how does my decision affect the people involved? That's relational awareness, right? And permission says, can I still make this decision if they don't approve of it? That's something different. Healthy communications consider impact. It doesn't require us to surrender every decision until everybody affected prefers the outcome. And calm authority creates room for both people. I can communicate my priority. You can have your response to it. And so the academy communication doctrine preserves this agency, right? It says questions create clarity. People remain free to make their own decisions, and communication should not be used to control an outcome. And so that's one of the things when I talk about communication is that when you're getting ready to have a conversation, let that conversation be genuine, right? I said because again, I can communicate my priority, right? Not pressure, not convincing, not pushed and not forceful. And you can have your response to it. So meaning that let's bring the resistance down, okay? And so let's have a conversation. So again, like I said, create questions create clarity. People remain free to make their own decisions, and communication should not be used to control the outcome or control an outcome. So we communicating to allow people to think and decide for themselves, right? And so let's get into number four. Someone else's excuse me, someone else's disappointment doesn't automatically mean your priority was wrong. Someone else's disappointment doesn't automatically mean your priority was wrong. And we done seen many, many times people have been disappointed because of what we made a priority, right? And so this is where emotional regulation becomes part of communication. Someone can be disappointed and you can care. Someone can wish you were available and you can understand. Someone can prefer that you make a different decision and you can listen. None of those responses automatically answers whether your priority is aligned. And um, their response is information, right? So that's why the work we've done over the last 2 weeks matters. Excuse me. Self trust, boundaries, discernment. We are not learning to ignore people. We are learning not to abandon our own thinking simply because another person has a feeling about our decision. And transparently, really, whatever a person thinks or what they're feeling, typically, I mean, at the end of the day, is really not our business. I mean, because we absolutely have no control over the way a person feels, the way they think, or where they go, where they don't go. I mean, we absolutely have absolutely no control over that. So again, we can learn. We can. That's when we tap into our own self trust, our boundaries, our discernments, and now we're talking about intentional energy, right, and priority. So, and the fifth thing is here: communicate the decision before defending the decision. So again, I'm going to say that again because sometimes we feel like that we have to defend our decision. So we're going to communicate the decision before we defend the decision. So try leading with clarity. Let's get clear, right? I'm not available for that this week. I already have something I've committed that time to, right? I'd like to do that, but now isn't the right time for me. Let me finish what I've already committed to before I add something else. Then pause. Allow the other person to respond. If context would genuinely create understanding, provide it. But don't assume every pause requires another explanation. Sometimes clear communication needs enough space to remain clear, right? And so, if you are tuning in with me right now, and if you are watching this on the replay and you would like to give me your perspective on this, I'm going to, give you a little a reflection here that you can think about. So think about how you communicated when your priority creates a no or a not right now for somebody else. Do you communicate the decision, or do you immediately begin proving why you're allowed to make it? And here's another question. If they understood your reason perfectly and still didn't like the answer, would you believe you needed another reason? Just notice what that brings up. And in my perspective, I'm going to say, if I'm communicating my decision, and if the other person, and I'm saying, my priority is, creates a no or a not right now, I'm simply going to just, I'm not going to give an explanation unless that person actually asks. And pretty much, at that point, you're really not responsible for what the person response is. I mean, because again, that's their emotion and you can absolutely do nothing about that, right? So, and here is a takeaway for you, something that you can actually use. So the next time your priorities require you to decline, delay, or change your availability, ask, what is my actual decision? Say that first. Second thing, what context genuinely helps this person understand? Give what is useful, not everything available. Not everything available. So, and the third thing, am I explaining for understanding or approval? Notice when communication begins become notice when communication begins becoming persuasion. And number four, can I allow the other person to have a response without immediately renegotiating my priority? And then listen. You may receive information that genuinely changes your decision, and if you do, you can reconsider. Calm authority isn't refusing to change your mind, it's refusing to abandon your discernment, right? And so, in closing, Quiet Queens, intentional energy eventually becomes visible because when you decide what deserves your attention, you're also deciding what doesn't receive the same amount of you right now. And sometimes somebody else will experience that. So Monday, we notice we notice where we notice where our energy was going. Tuesday, we decided what deserves priority. And today, we're learning how to communicate what that priority requires. Not not with aggression, not with a long defense, not by making somebody else wrong for not can't get my words together, not by making someone else wrong for wanting something different. With clarity, I can care about how my decision affects you. I can listen to your perspective. I can reconsider when new information matters. And I can still recognize that your approval and my consideration are not the same. And your priorities don't need everyone's permission. They need your discernment. And then they need communication clear enough for the people affected to know how you're choosing to move. So quiet authority outlasts persuasion. And so that concludes our live on this morning. And I want to thank you all for tuning in with me and staying with me this morning and giving me a little bit of your time. And so we'll be back on tomorrow with another segment of intentional energy. And so, again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on tomorrow. Have a divine day.